Hi, Dr. Pulsfer here, and I am going to talk about two ways of creating things, not just games, but this applies to writing and a lot of other things as well, world building, for example. And that is to go top down or bottom up. Now, what do I mean by that? Top down generally means you start with your goal and then figure out how you're going to get there by fleshing out sort of an outline. In the case of writing, it would be an outline. And then when you actually do the deed, you follow the outline. Bottom up means you start with individual pieces and gradually build something up. And you may not even know exactly what the goal is until you've got there. And some writers, like George R.R. Martin, write that way. Martin calls it the architectural method versus the gardening method. But there are other names for it as well. So the question is, do you start with your objective and work your way down, or do you start with individual parts that you think are going to fit into something and work your way up? Now, there are advantages to this. The bottom-up version can be quite incremental and created over a long period as you add things to it. But you can also get in trouble with contradictions. The top-down method is more organized, but requires far more effort initially. I recall one author, I think Maxwell Alexander Great may have been his name. He made an outline, and he spent months making an outline for a book, and then he followed it exactly. Well, most writers don't do that. Most writers discover things as they go along in writing, just as game designers discover things as they go along in designing a game. And when they discover those things, then they react to them. You can hear writers talk about how their characters do something the writer didn't expect. The character becomes a separate entity to them. And then, of course, you get people like Martin who just start writing and they go wherever they go. Now, you can design games the same way. And this may vary according to what your temperament is, or it may vary with the individual game. I can remember making what I used to call shotgun notes about games, and sometimes it would turn out to something and sometimes it wouldn't. Or it might be months or even years later when I went back to those notes and they made more sense and I added more to it and I ended up with a conception for a game. Now, again, I don't think either method is necessarily better. It just depends on the individual. There are going to be people who say, oh, top-down must be better. And there are people who are going to say, well, bottom-up must be a lot more fun, at least, if not better. And your opinion is going to vary on this, just like on a lot of things in game design. But the trick is to find what suits you and to use that method most or all of the time, and you'll be better off. Thanks for listening.